Anyway, so here's another Alex Jones clip. Alex Jones, here's is what he considers his most accurate prediction.
My most accurate prediction, going back over a decade, was when I read the Rockefeller Foundation Operation Lockstep, and they described using a virus to bring in world government, to bring in a world medical ID that they would then build a social credit score off of, and that they would make people wear masks for fear, that they would shut down sporting events and things like that, and basically phase in this new tyranny. So I was also able to specifically make that prediction over and over and over again because I was going off their own battle plans.
So that was his most accurate prediction.
Operation Lockstep?
I never heard it. That's what it was called. Operation. Did you know that's what it's called, Kurt? Operation Lockstep? I didn't know.
But I bet that dude Richard Gage would know. And Burmis, who made Loose Change, he'd be able to tell you. They know all those Rockefeller. I just recently learned all these great Rockefeller ideas from the Rockefeller Foundation that we're definitely doing.
We're definitely doing.
Yeah, no, they've mapped out the whole thing for going back quite some time, and it's all based on like it goes back at least to the 40s. What he just talked about goes back to 1912.
Okay,
World War I and everything.
Well, as soon as they as soon as they monopolized medicine and they got rid of anything that wasn't a pharmaceutical drug, if it wasn't a pharmaceutical drug cure for it, it was not science, according to them. And they got rid of all the people who practice medicine in a different way, except the osteopaths. They couldn't get rid of the osteopath. So and I know this because I'm seeing an osteopath now, and he's helping with my vax injury, and he's brilliant, and he's the one who told me all about this.
They came up with rule by experts that long ago. The term rule by experts.
That's how you're right.
And in fact, public school, when they first made it mandatory, there was like shootouts. Parents were having shootouts. They're like, the whole goal is to separate kids at a very young age from their families. That was on purpose. And the schools are designed to make you work in a factory. And we don't want, I think he says we don't want philosophers, artists, whatever. They want the factory workers of tomorrow. So that's what the bells and the sit still and be bored. That's on purpose to break you.
So that's what George Carlin said that. They want people just smart enough to work the machines.
They wrote that, his bit that he said. They wrote it for real as a policy.
Go ahead, Russ, you wanted to say?
No, yeah, he's absolutely right. Carnegie, Rockefeller, they helped to establish and fund public education because they needed workers at a certain level of education for the factories. But they never wanted them to be educated to a level that they would start to rise above their station, so to speak.
And then they had a managerial class they trained whose goal is to talk down to those people. I mean, they literally mapped it out, the thing that you're seeing now, a long time ago.
The professional managerial class.
Yes, that's the whole goal, is to teach them just enough to talk down to these people, but never even question the ones above. It really is a great pyramid scheme.
Let me play this one more time.
My most accurate prediction, going back over a decade, was when I read the Rockefeller Foundation Operation Lockstep, and they described using a virus to bring in world government, to bring in a world medical ID that they would then build a social credit score off of, and that they would make people wear masks for fear, that they would shut down sporting events and things like that, and basically phase in this new tyranny. So I was also able to specifically make that prediction over and over and over again because I was going off their own battle plans.
So using the masks for fear. So I've showed on this show time and time again, up until COVID, Fauci and everybody else said masks aren't effective for flu viruses or those kind of airborne viruses. And in fact, they cause more problems, unintended consequences. Fauci's own words was like, you start touching your face and you get stuff from your fingers on your mask and you breathe that in and it's not good for you. The best thing is, he said then, was to make sure you were exercising, you were eating well, getting rest, and taking your vitamins, that getting your immune system up, which is exactly what Joe Rogan was saying during COVID. Fauci was saying it up until then. And then all of a sudden, Fauci flips on a dime and says masks, 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 even though there was no science for it whatsoever, ever. In fact, not only say wear one mask, you should wear two masks. And then I found out from Dr. Drew, when I was on Dr. Drew's show, that he worked with Dr. Fauci during AIDS, and Dr. Fauci's main tool to get people to comply with what he wanted medically was to use fear. That's what Dr. Drew told me. He was big on using fear to get people to comply. And so that's the mask was perfect, because if you see everybody walking around with masks, it creates fear inside of you that everyone's afraid to catch this thing. And I'm afraid if I breathe the air, it's going to kill me. And that's exactly what Fauci did. He lied. He told people masks were efficacious in a fight against an airborne virus. They weren't. Every medical professional knew it wasn't. And then it took the mother of all studies, the Cochrane study, to finally definitive proof that there at a population level, there is no point to wearing masks against something like a virus like that. So what, you're reading something, Kurt? You want to?
Okay. I just looked up Operation Lockstep. This is from the debunking of it by USA Today.
Oh, USA Today debunks Operation Lockstep?
They're quoting other great debunking, such as Snopes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to go, you have to really scroll down to see where they're debunking. You know, oh, is this like maybe the Protocols of Zion, like a made up? No, the thing never mentions the novel coronavirus.
That's their debunking?
Yeah, that's their debunking.
Because it never
says police state. It just, describes it in depth and also all the things, but never says coronavirus. And it doesn't say they're going to introduce another one after.
And so USA Today got funded by, I'm going to guess, maybe they got some Bill Gates money. Maybe they got some Gavi money. Maybe they got some Pfizer money. Maybe they got all that stuff. And that's why they write an article like that.
Our rating false. We rate these claims as false, all caps, based on our research. The Rockefeller Playbook and Operation Lockstep do not exist. The claim borrows scenarios from Lockstep, a section of Scenarios for Future of Technology and International Development, a report published by the Rockefeller Foundation. The report makes no reference to COVID-19.
Jesus Christ! They sound like John Kerry saying, "I never personally owned a jet when his wife owned it. Right? It was in her name. I never. That's what that is like. Right. So they found a way to say,
so he just verified it. What he said is right based on their debunking.
That's right.
Again,
yeah, they never mentioned the name of the actual disease from 100 years in the future.
Yeah,
they just laid out the entire scenario.
And so they don't want you to hear from that guy. They don't want you to hear from this guy who actually reads their papers and then reports to you what he read in their papers.
Did you know that Bill Gates, this is hilarious, he has a big TED Talk about, or maybe it's not TED Talk, but it's all about how through Gavi and the vaccines, we're going to lower the population, which, of course, conspiracy theorists jumped on that like he wants to lower. But he says, well, according to the research, when people have all their vaccinations, they live longer and they just have less kids on their own. So saving their lives actually lowers the population. But the point of it is he wants to lower the population. That part's not made up. That's what he's saying.
Well, and they also want you weak and sick. A lot of this culture war stuff is really built around telling you can be healthy at any size. What's
healthy at any size?
What's with these right wingers going to the gym?
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about, man? I mean, that's good for you. That's good.
There's
for
a lot of far right gay guys at my gym, by the way, over in WeHo. You cannot believe the amount of far right gays.
We're doing live comedy shows in Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and Boston. Plus, we're going to put a date in Edmonton, Canada, plus Vancouver. See ya. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.